Hello and welcome to In Depth. I'm Teena Jha. On the 1st of August, the Union Cabinet decided to allow the simultaneous exploitation of unconventional hydrocarbon resources like coal bed methane and shale and conventional oil and natural gas. Finance Minister Piyush Goyal said the move is aimed at reducing India's dependence on imported oil and saving foreign exchange. The decision is expected to boost domestic output and spur investments by different firms. At present, a permit for exploration and reduction of conventional crude oil and natural gas does not allow exploitation of shale oil and gas and coal bed methane. In today's In-Depth, let's understand what is shale oil, why has it emerged as the best hope for our energy future, and is India ready for shale gas? Growing population and industrialization are impacting every aspect of our lives. This also includes the availability of energy. There are limited energy sources on Earth, but the manner in which they are being exploited and used, available reserves are being constantly depleted, which is why the use of shale gas has taken center stage. The discovery of shale oil is not new, but its production is challenging and expensive.
The 70s saw a revolution in crude oil production. All Gulf countries, including the Arab nations, were identified as energy centers. The continuous availability of oil for the past 6 decades has only enhanced the importance of these nations over the years. But diminishing capacity of the limited oil reserves has increased concerns in many countries. That is why various countries, including the US and India, are directing their focus on shale oil and gas.
Country that you find which is making the most use of shale is USA. For lots of reasons, they have uninhabited areas where they can explore, and they have traditionally got oil wells which have gone into disuse, which they think and have been able to bring those back into circulation by extracting shale. So for America, it makes a lot of sense. Similarly for Russia, though of course they have not been that successful, but still that's another country where shale oil has an ability. In the Middle East, since they already have huge stocks of oil and also of gas, they'll not be very happy to explore shale, because that will actually further add to the supply and reduce the price of their current reserves. So for them it makes no sense. And for a country like India, even if we assume that there is shale, because of the fact that there are lots of costs, geological cost, environmental cost for doing this sort of a project, we have practically decided not to use shale. And in fact, no company in India is really pushing actively or very vigorously for exploration of shale.
Technically, shale gas is a natural gas produced from rocky structures, which is different from natural gas produced from sand and limestone. They are rich in organic material and are usually mature petroleum source rocks. Only high heat and pressure on these rocks produces natural gas, which is much cleaner compared to LPG. The word shale is usually used for any sedimentary rock that contains solid bituminous substances like kerogen. When this rock is heated by pyrolysis, a chemical process, then the kerogen petroleum comes out in the form of liquid substance, which is called shale oil. Shale oil is formed by the accumulation of mud, silt and organic waste for millions of years. Due to heat and pressure for a long time, these biological substances turn into shale oil.
Shale is a fine sedimentary rock which contains high amount of organic matter. This organic matter can produce a hydrocarbon. To produce a hydrocarbon from any lithology, it requires a permeability so that the liquid can flow through it and you can take out. But by nature, as the shale is made up of flaky minerals, so it doesn't have the permeability. So you have to create the permeability by the fracturing or high pressure hydrofracturing or high pressure fracturing. So the permeability is created. Once the permeability is created, the gas start flowing through the fractures and you can take out at the surface through the production well.
In the process of extracting oil, shale oil is heated enough to break down and melt organic compounds like kerogen. After sufficient heating, kerogen melts and comes out in liquid and gaseous form. These liquids are similar to the liquid and gaseous hydrocarbons found in conventional petroleum. Such synthetic crude is also called kerogen oil. Oil is obtained from shale oil in two ways. In the first process, shale rocks are mined out and broken into small pieces and transported to the processing plant, where it is heated at approximately 500 degrees Celsius, that is 930 degrees Fahrenheit. Due to high heat, oil comes out as steam from these rocks. The second process is called C2. In this, oil shale is broken by explosion, after which air and gas enter inside the rock. The rock is then heated with techniques like electrical heating. This brings out the kerogen like crude oil from these rocks.
It is a very fine grained sedimentary rock. It can have इसमें porosity बहुत high होती है, but permeability बहुत low होती है. तो जो भी गैस इसमें बनते हैं वो इसमें trapped हो जाते हैं और निकल नहीं पाते हैं. To explore, अगर इसमें से गैस निकालना है, देन वी हैव टू मेक, हमें आर्टिफिशियल क्रैकिंग करनी पड़ेगी, फ्रैक्चर करना पड़ेगा. सो दैट वी डू एट द वो हम ज़मीन के अंदर ही इसको में फ्रैक्चरिंग करते हैं, कंट्रोल्ड फ्रैक्चरिंग करते हैं ताकि गैस इसमें से निकल सके. जब ये गैस इधर से निकलती है, देन प्रोडक्शन वेल से हम इसको सरफेस पे कलेक्ट कर लेते हैं फॉर हमारे यूज के लिए.
Generally, shale oil technology is quite expensive because these rocks have less oil content. The gas found around the shale oil rocks is called shale gas. Till 20th century, the technique to extract shale oil and gas was quite difficult and expensive. Because of this, nobody was interested in its production at that time. With the beginning of the 21st century, the technique improved. At present, with the new technology, the production cost of 1 barrel shale oil is around $40, which is helping America to fulfill its oil needs. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The government has approved a new policy on extraction and exploration of shale oil in the Indian basin. This new age untapped source of fuel is expected to bring to an end India's dependence on crude oil imports. Let's look at the prospects for shale gas production in India in our next report.
India is the third largest consumer of energy after China and the USA, but it has few resources to generate it. Relying heavily on imports to service energy needs drains fiscal resources given the volatile energy prices and also affects energy security adversely. Meeting energy needs to achieve an 8 to 9% economic growth, even as we also meet energy requirements of the population at affordable prices, is a huge challenge. It calls for sustained efforts in increasing energy efficiency while increasing domestic production to keep a lid on import dependence. Given India's growth needs, primary energy consumption is unlikely to reduce. In such a scenario, unconventional sources of gas, particularly shale gas, holds a special relevance for India.
In terms of production, US is a leader in shale oil, and it is producing a large amount of gas, and which is which can meet around 20% of its domestic need of the gas. But in India, we are in a very initial stage. We are just trying to identify the area and trying to estimate the total reserve. However, technologically, we are not in a position to produce a shale oil or shale gas.
Shale gas has been an increasingly important source of natural gas in the United States since the start of the century. In fact, the US started generating electricity from shale gas instead of coal. The rapid rise in production of gas from shale in the US has led to renewed interest in unconventional gas sources globally. India is among the interested nations. Recently, in a written response in the Rajya Sabha, the Oil and Natural Gas Ministry informed the House that shale gas resource assessment in Indian Basin has been done by various national and international agencies. According to the government, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation Limited has estimated shale gas resources of 187.5 trillion cubic feet for 5 basins, that is Cambay, KG, Kaveri, Ganga and Assam. At the same time, Central Mine Planning and Design Institute has estimated shale gas resources of 45.8 TCF in the Gondwana Basin. International agencies like the United States Geological Survey estimated technical recoverable shale gas of 6.1 TCF for 3 basins, that is Cambay, KG and Kaveri. Further, the US Geological Survey estimated technical recoverable volume of 62 million barrels of shale oil for Cambay Basin.
We are already producing the gases, and recently we have also started for the CBM, that is coal bed methane. However, the commercial production is, I think it is not yet started. It is in the pilot project stage, but the huge amount of CBM is reserved in India, mostly in the Gondwana coal sediments, coal deposits.
Challenges, as naturally it is an intermediate gas, and for our sectors the biggest thing is that we have to shift from oil to gas and from gas to renewable energy. We are moving in that direction. In fact, we have we have actually pushed the renewable energy targets ahead. So we are now looking at, for instance, by 2022 putting up 175 gigawatt of electricity from renewable energy. So India looks at oil as the primary source along with coal for power plants. So oil for mobile energy, coal for static energy in the sense that for power plants and others, and later on supplanting a large role of coal and definitely of oil to produce electricity from renewable energy. In the intermediate stage, we'll be using a bit of gas to try to make the transition. So it's a process in which we are not really bothered about who gives us what sort of gas, as long as the price is right for us. And that is where the entire equation lies.
In order to exploit shale gas and oil in the country, the government on 14th October 2013 announced policy guidelines for exploration and exploitation of shale gas and oil by national oil companies like ONGC and Oil India Limited in their online petroleum exploration license petroleum mining lease. In the first phase of the assessment, ONGC has identified and initiated shale gas and oil exploration activities in 50 PEL/PML areas, and OIL has identified and initiated shale gas exploration activities in 6 PEL/PML areas. All blocks are still under exploration stage. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And time for a very short break on the program. We'll be right back.
In our first segment of Policy Watch today, we will take a closer look at the RBI's monetary policy.
The RBI will be an inflation targeting organization. So its primary mandate is to ensure that inflation does not go out of hand.
That this is a good time going forward when things are not so bad, but there is definitely uncertainty for the future. Why not strike now?
In our next segment of Policy Watch, we will analyze the draft e-commerce policy.
The policy is being talked about, though for quite some time. The draft has come at a time when there were concerns also about privacy and data protection. Making the e-commerce policy as a part of the so-called Make in India campaign.
At the heart of this whole debate is to strike the balance between being pro-consumer and pro-business.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back. You're watching In Depth. Experts say that shale gas has the potential to trigger a revolution in the global energy landscape. At present, a small group of countries are energy suppliers. But with shale gas, a whole new group of suppliers could join the market and the impact could be felt worldwide. The availability of shale gas in the market would alter prices, turn some producer countries into consumers, and shift the balance of trade in favor of those with shale. In this report, let's look at the countries that have an abundant domestic resource base of technically recoverable shale gas.
The past few decades have seen shale gas reduce oil prices in the US economy. It has helped America gradually reduce its heavy dependence on imported oil for its energy needs. The US Department of Energy Information and Administration says that by 2035, the US will meet 46% of energy consumption by shale gas alone.
Prospects for shale oil is a bit mixed in the sense that it is an intermediate sort of an oil, and it's not a very easy to dislodge. It's not an easy to procure source of fuel because of geological reasons. Shale does not come naturally. It's easy to get a field from where you can get oil, where you can get gas, but you cannot get shale. Why can't you get shale? Because essentially shale is largely trapped between the rock formation. So shale is not a very comfortable gas to be able to extract, and that is why till now in the most countries had not been looking at possibilities of using shale.
It took 3 decades for the shale gas industry to develop in the US after it spent millions of dollars on gas research in the 1980s. Shale gas and shale oil is abundant in places like Michigan, Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, Colorado, and East Virginia. Until a few years ago, prices of natural gas in the US were equal to prices in Japan and Europe. But with the advancement in shale gas technology, prices are now much lower compared to Japan and Europe.
For America, it makes a lot of sense. Similarly for Russia, though of course they have not been that successful, but still that's another country where shale oil has an ability. In the Middle East, since they already have huge stocks of oil and also of gas, they'll not be very happy to explore shale, because that will actually further add to the supply and reduce the price of their current reserves. There wasn't any particular reason to look for shale, and those who are investors who had invested in shale were actually making losses. It's only now that once the price of oil has started moving well past 40 and going up almost till 80, that we are more in a position to be able to use shale as a substitute to ensure that it can be sold at around 50 or so.
According to the US Energy Information Administration June 2013 report, the estimated recoverable shale gas resources accounted for approximately 7,299 trillion cubic feet. According to the report, between 2013 and 2015, shale gas reserves in the top 11 countries of the world were China 1,115 trillion cubic feet, Argentina 802 trillion cubic feet, Algeria with 707 trillion cubic feet, United States with 665 trillion cubic feet, Canada with 573, Mexico with 545, Australia with 437 trillion cubic feet, South Africa with 390, Russia with 285, Brazil 245, and India had 95 trillion cubic feet.
It's not an easy to procure source of fuel because of geological reasons. Shale does not come naturally. It's easy to get a field from where you can get oil, where you can get gas, but you cannot get shale. Why can't you get shale? Because essentially shale is largely trapped between the rock formation.
According to a survey in 2016 by a Norwegian company, Rystad Energy, the US has 80% of the world's total shale oil reserves.
The report also states there are approximately 6,000 barrels of shale reserves in the world.
In terms of production, US is a leader in shale oil, and it is producing a large amount of gas, and which is which can meet around 20% of its domestic need of the gas. But in India, we are in a very initial stage. We are just trying to identify the area and trying to estimate the total reserve. However, technologically, we are not in a position to produce a shale oil or shale gas. Different agency has estimated the total reserve of shale oil or shale gas. Almost 300 to 500 trillion cubic feet of shale gas is identified in India by different agency in sedimentary basins like Cambay, Godavari Basin, Narmada Basins, Rajasthan and Ganga Basins. However, the commercial production is, I think it is not yet started. It is in the pilot project stage. But the huge amount of CBM is reserved in India, mostly in the Gondwana coal sediments, coal deposits.
Extraction of shale gas and oil is a big challenge as compared to other sources of natural gas. Being fully underground, shale gas leaves its footprint in excessive quantity and is quite different from other conventional gas sources. Its production is also quite difficult. Since shale gas is stored deep underground in fine-grained sedimentary rocks, it is extracted using a process known as hydraulic fracturing. It involves drilling long horizontal wells in shale rocks more than a kilometer below the surface. Massive quantities of water, sand and chemicals are pumped into the wells at high pressure. This opens up fissures in the shale which are held open by the sand, enabling the trapped gas to escape to the surface for collection. But because the process requires a lot of drilling, it also harms the environment a lot. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And that's it from us in today's edition of In Depth. We'll be back same time tomorrow with a focus on another subject. You can also watch our episodes online on YouTube and Twitter and get back to us with your feedback and suggestions. Thanks for your time.